Good morning and God's peace be with you all. We're still in the season of Easter. No, it's not over yet. The gospel reading for today takes place right after Jesus' resurrection and before his ascension. It is from the gospel according to St. Luke, chapter 24. Some selected verses as I've shortened it just a bit. That very day, 2 of Jesus' followers were going to a village named Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem. And they were talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing together, Jesus drew himself near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What is this conversation that you are holding with each other as you walk?" And they stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, named Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have happened there in these days?" So they drew near to the village to which they were going. He acted as if they were going farther, but they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, for it is toward evening and the day is now far spent." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took the bread and blessed and broke it and gave it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they recognized him. And he vanished from their sight. The Gospel of the Lord. These two met Jesus on the road to Emmaus. They had no clue who he was, but it didn't matter. They struck up a conversation, sharing the good news that they had heard, that although Jesus had been crucified, he had risen from the grave. The rumor was that Jesus lives. So they conversed a bit, and then they invited the stranger to stay with them. And as they sat down to eat, Jesus took the bread, blessed it, and he broke it, and he gave it to them. And they recognized that this stranger that they had invited to spend the night with them was this very same Jesus who had died and now lived. This portion of the story of the walk to Emmaus brings back memories of some other stories, of Jesus feeding the multitude, of blessing the bread, breaking it, and feeding thousands with a few morsels. It is a reminder that on the night in which he was betrayed, Jesus blessed the bread, broke it, and he gave it to the disciples, saying, "Take and eat. This is my body, given for you. This is my blood. It is shed for you." In the breaking of the bread, the true nature of who Jesus is recognized. It breaks my heart that in this day of COVID-19, we cannot gather at the Lord's table to receive the meal that he has provided for us through his body and his blood. We cannot gather with brothers and sisters in Christ, or even with strangers at the dinner table, to receive the blessings of God, to fellowship with one another. It is true, his blessings are with us always. We receive those blessings through the word and in many other ways, but it is at the table in the breaking of the bread and the blessing of the bread that we are most able to receive and recognize Jesus. But it is at the table that we recognize Jesus in the bread, which is his body given for us, and in the wine, his blood poured out for us. And I hope, as the men who ate with Jesus in the gospel, we can recognize the abiding presence of Christ in the people that we dine with at the dinner table as well. One day soon, that will all be possible again. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look upon you with favor and grant you his peace. Amen.